I had the first idea about Pastbook while I was working in eBay, almost 6 years ago. Two guys that they completely destroyed everything that I wanted to do or that that I was planning to do. Or
through your journey you've been on, what are some of the things that you taught yourself? What are you putting on the wall now? What are some of the mantras that you bring with you from this journey? We are also extremely happy about having the opportunity to invite one of the guys from the first year program. So Stefano Cutello, who's standing over here, and he's a social media geek, so you should expect that he's taking photos of basically everything that happens tonight. So if you don't want to be seen, hide yourself.
it's too late.
It's too late. You're already out on Instagram. But we're extremely excited that he's here today. I think I wanted to name this session, and you figure out why I name it the way that I do. Power of Perseverance. That's what we're going to name this session. Stefano was part of the program in 2012. We just passed the mark of 5 years since graduation, and it's been quite a roller coaster for Stefano. So let's give him a hand and have him up here next to me. Stefano. I'm going to give you this one.
All right. Hi everyone.
So good to have you here.
My pleasure.
So
For inviting me.
I think it would be good to start out, and we're using the microphones by the way because we're also filming it. Not to think what the heck, maybe it's also better in the back, but it's not such a big group, huh? But still. So Stefano, could you start off by telling us the whole idea about Pastbook? Why did you come up with that?
All right. I will try to keep it short. You know that we have just 1 hour. So I'm a tech guy. And I had the first idea about Pastbook while I was working in eBay, almost 6 years ago. And the idea came up because I was sitting on my couch with my dad, and he was showing me his diaries and photo album of him in his younger days. And then I thought, will I ever be able to provide that same experience to my children? And of course the answer was not. As Rune said, like, I take a picture of everything, and I post everything on Instagram or Facebook. And I thought, all these memories of my own life are scattered everywhere on different places on social media or different devices. So as a geek and as a programmer, I just built up a tool myself to actually fix my own problem. And then and I did that while I was working in eBay. And then I asked a bunch of friends to try it out, and it unintentionally went viral in Italy. I had no idea about building a startup or like a company or whatever. It was just like a cool tool to fix my own problem, but then at a certain point decided that I wanted to go all in with that, and that's how I got into Rockstart.
And you briefly mentioned that you're working at eBay. I remember that you had a pretty good job there. Could you just talk to us about how old were you and what kind of job did you have at eBay?
I opened my first company when I was 18, while I was doing at the university. It was a web agency, so I was knocking at the door of the companies in my small village where I'm from, asking, like, do you want a website? People were saying, like, what the fuck is a website? What should I need it? and then I was, I was selling and then building those websites, and then to keep myself updated, I started working as a consultant for big companies. One of which was eBay, that turned out to be the only company where I accepted to actually become an employee. Like all the other companies before, they were proposing me that, but that was not something that I felt as part of my, let's say, DNA or my goal. But eBay was one of my dream jobs, let's say one of the top 5 companies that I really wanted to work on. And the cool part is that was the Italian branch of eBay, that they were building up the product from scratch for Italy, and the team was like very small, like less than 8 people, just 2 Italian, my boss and then I, and I started as a senior software engineer, and then I became the technical lead and CTO of the Italian platform, and that I stayed there for around like 3 years. And when I moved from having my own company to working just for one client, eBay, my employer, I just ended up with a lot more free time. And then as a nerd, that's how I found the time to actually build a Pastbook. And what was the question? Why I left? Why I left? How did it felt to leave eBay?
No, that
No.
would be the next one.
All right.
But we can check that.
All right. Okay.
How do So you built the first prototype
Yeah.
of Pastbook while working at eBay. Was it a difficult decision to quit? I mean, you're the CTO. You're pretty young, right, in this company,
I would
global company.
I would lie if I would have to say no. So like, so when Pastbook started to be a bit viral, I really got excited about it, and I say, okay, probably this is my next train, and they decided that they wanted to go all in with that. So I didn't know anything about startups, about fundraising, about most of the stuff that I'm going to talk about now, but I decided that if I wanted to do it right, I really wanted to make it big. So I started to learn a bit about the Italian ecosystem, and I realized that, with all the respect for like Italy itself, that Italy didn't felt it for me to make this project a global project. So I started to apply to every kind of accelerator incubator around the world, and that's how I got into Rockstart. And then I needed to drop off my nice salary, indefinite contract. At my parking slot in the building in the center of Milan, and all those stuff. And then I started asking a bit my family, my friends, all the people around me, and there was nobody that was telling me, okay, do it. Exception made for my girlfriend that know me very well. And then I did the exercise of like listing all the reasons why I should do it, and the plenty of reasons why I should not do it. And of course, there were mainly just the reason to not do it. But let's say that I went back to just like one of my principles in life, that I prefer to try and fail than living with the regret of not have tried. So I just say like fuck it, and I resigned. And actually, eBay, it was I really had like a good relation with my boss in eBay and the country manager and all the management. And I remember like when I filed my resignation, my manager told me there would be no better reason to let an employee go than for this one, to have somebody building his own company. And like he's one of the guys that I'm still in touch on right now. And then when I go back to Italy, other than meeting my family and my friends, I still go back to Italy to meet the team. So that say a lot about the culture of like an American company, even in Italy. And still, I would say that if it was not for all the stuff that I learned in eBay, probably I would not have been here with Pastbook, because I've still built up Pastbook with most of the stuff that I learned in eBay. Also because, by the way, I dropped out of university after 2 years, so because I just preferred to work and build stuff.
So 2012,
yeah.
We just opened our application for the first program at Rockstart. You were one of the few guys that came flying in after, I think, meeting you briefly online, and then you said, screw it, we're going to take a plane, we're going to come up and meet you guys. And then you got accepted into the program. How did it feel to be in the program, suddenly moving to Amsterdam?
Yeah, it was, I was just talking earlier, like it was the 21st of March 2012, and all the story about filing my resignation was just the week before that. and I just came here, on the personal level, after like almost 2 years of working in a stable company like eBay. I also went to live with my girlfriend, and we got a house that was empty, so we started building all the furniture and whatever. And then one day I came back home and I said, yeah, you know what, I actually need to leave. And that was like less than 6 months that we were in that house. That was still, I still had to put up the shelf and stuff like that. And so I left all, those kind of challenges didn't stop at me to move on. And then after 6 months, where like I had the feeling that like things would have taken off here in Amsterdam, my girlfriend moved on as well here. And yeah, it didn't felt like doing something that much crazy. I just really believed in what I was gonna do, and I really just wanted to go all in with that. And for me, was the main reason why I didn't care where to go, but I just wanted to get into an environment that would have supported me, was not for the investment, for the money, but really to learn from the best, how to be one of those best.
Right, so how was the program? What was the more memorable moments of that?
The program was tough. We, especially because also Rockstart was in the early days as well, so it was really exciting, and for me still very proud to be part of this family. Yeah, the most memorable moment, let's say, it would be easy to say demo day, of course. That was like something that I still completely remember. But it is like one little story that I always like to say is that during Rockstart we all had these speed dates, and we were meeting a lot of people and experts of this and that, and we were having this deep dive session. And one of the first one was with two guys that they completely destroyed everything that I wanted to do, or that that I was planning to do, or everything about Pastbook. Like I went out of that meeting and said, what the fuck why am I here? Or like, no, probably I'm doing everything wrong. But then within the program, actually those two persons, one of those became like our first investor in the round. And the other one is still one of our most close advisors. And that's is about, I always try to, and like to stay close to the people that don't think like me, or that I can learn, or that have a different opinion. So I kept chasing them, and I kept to, I wanted to learn what they were seeing wrong in Pastbook, to actually work on it. And that it turned out pretty well. So that is like one of the good memories that I have about the value that I got out of the program, because I got like plenty of different perspective. Like in those speed dates session, people were telling you to go right, and then 5 minutes later you were talking with somebody else that they were saying you go left. So at the end of those sessions you really never know what to do, but it was helpful to actually learn about different perspective, and then last call was always on us.
So after the program, you already mentioned you got some investors on board. Talk us through that process. What kind of investment did you get? From who did you get it? And sort of what were you planning to spend the money on?
Yeah, so like after Demo Day, I think that we were like one of the first startup after Demo Day to raise our round, because it ended up to be like in a kind of, let's say, little lucky position that we had the chance and luck to pick the investor that we wanted, because we got some good inbound interest, and yeah, it was funny because still, like, despite all this nice situation, until the last minute everything was almost falling apart. I remember, like, one night that we were waiting to get the final signature, like walking around Amsterdam saying like, what if tomorrow morning we don't get the signature, what's gonna happen? Because like it was really like the crucial moment. But like something that I learned that I think that was a good call is that we didn't pick the investor for the money itself, but first for the people. So personal click for me is super important, no matter if it's a business deal or whatever, and we wanted to have people that they were thinking like us, and that's another story that back in the days I was saying I don't care about making revenue, we want to go big and big and big and big. Then one day we will actually make money. That story turned out differently, but like the investors we got on board always had the mission with us to actually make something big, and that's why one of our mantra was always is still always go big or go home, and that's how we pick people that really care about our mission and that believed in me, and that was something that if it was not for the investors we got on board back in the early days that kept investing in all the other round that we had, probably we would not have been here as well.
And then you talked about trying to grow the product or grow the traction. How did it go after
Wrong.
responding?
Wrong.
Leading question. Yeah.
So yeah, that is something that I learned the hard way. As a tech guy, as a product guy, I started building and only focusing mainly on the product. So just thinking about building this feature, building this other feature, assuming that people were waiting for that other feature and building and hoping that that next feature would have made a difference, and hoping to wake up the day after and see that thing made a difference. That never happened. And that was one of the most tough lessons for me to learn. And, you know, you can have the best product ever, but if nobody knows about you, or like if you're building a product for you and not for the people that in theory they should use it, then it's still worth nothing. So that's how things went. That we had like kind of a good product, but like nobody was using it.
And then what happened? Then you had to scale down, right? In team size, down to how? What was the journey? How many people were you at one point, and what did you scale down to?
So after the round, we went to around 12, 15 people, and that was 2013, and then that was the peak, and then by the beginning of 2014, it was just me. That was scaling down enough.
So how did that feel?
Lonely, like very bad. But then I did not want to give up, and that's something that still drives me. You know, I still feel that, you know, I want to get stuff done with this company, and that's why I was not giving up I was still believing and in the potential of what we were building. I just needed to work a little bit about you know, myself, and you know, like what I just said, that, you know, product alone is not enough. So what I did then, I started focusing myself still on the product, because luckily I was able to code again. So like after even having our developer go, I managed to go back and code in the product. But I completely changed the way to do stuff. So before, we were just feeding the developers to build up these new features. Like when I went back myself on the product, I spent my time of actually getting rid of features and going completely just on looking at the data, on what was working, and then doubling down on that. I got this like awesome piece of advice from one of those two guys of that deep dive session, that when stuff were really going really bad, he told me, you know, wake up on Monday and think that you're going really bankrupt by the end of the week. So do whatever you can to postpone that Saturday to the Saturday after, and then just work like in really survival mode. But that gave me like that kind of mindset that I was not really, I could not afford to waste my time. And that's something else that, you know, before when we raised the money the first time we got on TechCrunch or all those stuff, I thought, we have done it. So like, you know, awesome. And then I was chasing, or like I was actually spending time of any kind of opportunity. So everybody that was meeting, like B2C, B2B, white label, whatever kind of opportunity, I was actually gonna invest time, hoping again, like the future, that you know, that extra one would have made a difference. That never happened. So I started to simply say no to everything, exception made to what would, you know, could have moved that bankruptcy deadline to the week after. And I worked with just like one KPI that had the dollar sign, and I spent my own money, because at the moment, at that time, we were not having actually money anymore, into testing like some like Facebook marketing campaign, just like really 10, 50 euro, to really prove that it was working. And then in that summer, I got on board my sister as well. So we scaled to 2 people. And that was the summer 2014, and I needed somebody to take care, still with this mindset to not waste my time in stuff that are not really critical, to take care a bit of the financial accounting and the customer support. And we worked until the end of that year, and then in November I went back to my initial investors with data. And in that situation, I would have never went back to my investors without data. You know, I really wanted to have a proof for myself first that thing would have worked. You know, I wanted to have a proof that I was not just in love with the idea of Pastbook and I was just full of it. So I wanted to prove that I was into something. So like it was November 2014. I went back to all my investors and I showed them this little tiny curve that was going from 0 to 0.01, and asking for some more money. And then they believed, I think, in me first, and in the company. And then since that moment, January 2015, we never stopped growing.
And the investors, were there never any point where someone said, isn't it about time to stop? Were they all behind you from, were you by yourself at that time?
I cried in front of my investors one time, and they always told me that it was up to me. They knew that as long as I was able to still believe myself in what we were doing, then they would have been on my back. And that was, I think, the most important thing for them. Still, we have different type of investors, like some of them that are the ones that are more close, they're not techies, so they don't maybe understand completely the dynamics of performance marketing or technology, but are the one that inspired me to really also never give up, or really always follow my gut feeling and go for it, and that is something that I'm still learning.
I want to make a small comment, because not all of your investors actually believed in you. So the interesting thing is the tech investors stopped believing you or stopped putting money into the company, but the people that didn't understand the business so well but understand people, they kept investing in you.
Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting, especially.
Yeah, that's true. Let's say the people, we had this, I didn't want to make it that dramatic, but that's actually...
Come on. You're Italian.
Yeah. When we had this, at the time was actually still a bridge round, so we didn't raise that much money the second time. We asked them to just give me the chance to hire more people, and then not everybody actually invested in that round. But like Don was saying, it's actually the people that were investing into Pastbook more because of me than the business model or the product itself that actually kept helping till now.
So what have your investors meant for you? The guys who stuck around and went through the hard times with you?
They are everything. Let's say that those are like the closest people that they help me, not just when things goes well, like maybe now, or maybe they never go well enough for me, but especially in the hard time, those are the ones that really were there to believe in me, because and that's why it's the importance of picking the right investors at the right stage. Because you're going to rely on those investors, especially when stuff goes wrong, and more than when things goes well.
So you recently were able to announce a $2 million USD in funding, so congratulations on that, of course. What have the whole investor relations and raising funding taught you since 2012?
Yeah, a lot. It's something else that I learned myself, that at the beginning, back to the first round, it felt that my goal was to raise as much money as possible, and then, think that I was done when I raised the first round, and then everything would have been easier. Stuff never gets easier. The more we go, actually, the pressure is always higher. But then again, this round was led by our own investors that wanted to expand their position inside the company to protect their own position, but also to keep, we call it the Pastbook family between us, and to be able to grow faster. So that is also where the mindset is important, that at the end people are going to give you money for a return. And that's why we wanted to pick the right investor that would not have pushed us to go for the for the short exit or for the short return, but we wanted to have people that actually wanted to go all the way through, or at least follow me in whatever I believe is right for the company. And that's why we kept this new round still an internal one.
And Pastbook today, your sister is still working with you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How is the company doing?
Well, so now we are like a bit more than 30 people, and we keep hiring like one person a month or two, especially now that like for us, so what we do, by the way, we create photo books out of everything that you post on Facebook, Instagram or whatever else in just one click, so you don't have to select the photos, you don't have to spend time in editing your book, we just get everything. We select the best picture for you based on a lot of all the possible data that we can get, and the only other click that you need to do is to actually buy the book. The most important type of photo book that we sell are yearbooks. So at the end of the year we sell a book where everything that you posted or that your friend posted about you in 1 year get into a book, and then you can just buy it. This is like more than 90% of our own revenue. And that's why now we are entering in the most crazy period ever, that is with Black Friday, Christmas and New Year, and that's what we are scaling up. And that's, back in the days it was my sister just doing customer support and handling. Now almost half of our team, managed by Valentina, is customer support, and so we are just gearing up for the peak season. And the goal with the round, to actually answer your question, is to keep scaling internationally. So like, I moved to Amsterdam to join Rockstart, but I never cared that much about the Netherlands. I always say, if I make it big in the Netherlands, with all the respect, it's not going to be big enough. So Europe would have been like very complicated to roll out, different currency, different languages. So we always focus into the US as our main market. That's why more than 85% of our revenue are coming from US. And with this year, the goal, and especially with this round, is to scale back to Europe. So now we have like UK or Australia and Canada gearing up. We launched in the Netherlands, Italy, France, Germany, and that's where we need to scale. And that's the new challenge.
Nice. So how do you see it in terms of growth for the next quarter, but also maybe moving forward for 2018? What's your expectations?
Yeah, the expectation is that the next 3 months are going to be totally crazy. So like usually in the first month and a half of every year, we do in general more revenue of the entire year before. That's the kind of rate that we have been growing in the last 3 years. So that's, I'm really excited / worried about what's going to happen in January, because that's going to be the craziest peak. And for me the challenge is, at the beginning was easy because we didn't have that much to lose, so we were able to just try stuff and move fast. So one of my challenge and goal is to just keep that mindset and be able to keep moving as fast as back in the days. And that means, not just product, but like the team, focusing on the culture. We have a great team now, so we need to find like more people like them to be able to support all the other stuff that you need to do. So that is where I'm going to spend most of the time. So scaling the business, but then behind the business there are like a great team.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of just looking at the team size, you're now 30. Where do you think you're going to be by the end of 2018?
I'm not a big fan of big teams, and I don't judge if let's say that's my personal thought, but like I don't think that a company is better if you have more people, because I just prefer the way we got so far, to get the best and smartest people around, to work the double of the normal people, and not in terms of time but in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. And that's the way we want to go. So now we want to grow with getting people that can really add expertise in the stuff that we're still learning the way, for this new stage of the company that is more about financial data still, but more about scaling. But the most important thing for me is still about innovating. So that's something that I don't want to miss out. It's what sometimes like frustrate me, because I really always want to run and build new stuff. So, but now we need to be a bit more careful, because we can lose quite a lot if you do the wrong step. And for me, in the last 12 months or so, like learning about delegating more and getting the company grow, not just because of me and as a bottleneck of the company, but like relying on, you know, core people in the team. That is the, I think, like most important thing that we should rely on to really scale, because it will not be just because of me.
So what are you planning in terms of products? Are you rolling out some new set of features, or what to expect from Pastbook?
We are gonna probably do something new. Pastbook is so. I did not start Pastbook to build a photo book company, even though photo books is the only thing that we do and what is letting us to pay the bills and making money. The reason why we started with photo books is because we use the photo book as a go-to-market strategy to actually get into the customer that we believe can use the final product that we have in mind, or that we can address as you know, the mission that we have, is helping them to preserve their memories wherever they are, and to allow them to relive them in the most richest way possible. And that's the product, is the photo book, but it can be a lot of other stuff. We want just to follow the way people take photos or videos and allow them to actually relive those memories in the best way possible. That can be printed or not, can be a real physical object, or can be a virtual reality. But that's where we want to go.
Nice. So, an entrepreneurial journey you've been on, what are some of the things that you taught yourself? What are you putting on the wall now? What are sort of some of the mantras that you bring with you for this journey?
Yeah, I usually throw my head to the walls most of the time. For me, it's hard. It's everybody say, yeah, building your own company is fun and whatever, but it's really fucking hard. And say what I always say to myself is to just never give up. I believe that this thing can work, and sometimes, you know, I want to prove also to myself first, like back in the days, that this thing can actually work and scale. So you know, I just kept pushing, and that's something that I want also to get as a, you know, one of the pillar culture in our team, to have everybody believing in themselves and never can do attitude, so that we can just keep pushing and never giving up. That's how we keep doing.
So my next question was, what would be your number one recommendation to?
That's what I say.
Most probably, never give up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Any questions from the audience? Please feel free to raise your hand, and I can throw you the microphone.
You seem like a really driven person. Actually, you don't seem, I think, I'm pretty sure you are. But how do you keep balance between wanting to move forward, right? Be innovative, move forward with new features, and still maintain the data-driven approach, so you make sure that you build something this time that actually people will wake up the next morning wanting to have. So how do you keep that balance? As a person, not as a company.
As a person, yeah, that's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
Because that's, let's say, I still trust my gut feeling a lot, but I know that you know, we never had all the resources to do all the stuff that I always wanted to do. So that is where like the reality kicks in, and it's also always about you know, still making stuff that can make a difference in the short term, and trying to buy time or extra time to work on experimental things that can make the difference for the long term. But that is, you know, your comment is totally on spot on. Let's say that's the most hard thing, because you know, back in the days, but still now, we always on product we always tried new stuff without having scaling in mind. We just say, okay, let's just build it or fake it. If it works, then it will be a quality problem to care. You know, back in the days, you know, we were selling books without being able to render those books. And then we say, okay, if you cannot make, if you can't sell even one book, there is no need to build up the rendering part. And then when we started selling some, there was a lot of manual work involved into this, into processing this book. And then I still had like one developer, two sometimes, and at a certain point I was the second one. And then we thought, like, you know, should I spend time in building this architecture to, you know, just render as fast as possible the books, or should we spend time into selling more books and then maybe hiring an extra person to do the manual work? So that's a bit how we kept the balance, so that we can say, okay, if we can, you know, do things that didn't scale, to allow us to innovate a little bit, or to spend time in stuff that can make a difference. That's, I always a big fan of, you know, doing the easy, the quick and dirty way. That's.
Any other questions? Yeah?
If you look at the US as the most mature market, right, so you're going geographical expansion for Europe, but if you look at the US, what growth levers do you see as the strongest opportunity for growing that market?
So you mean,
Repeat the question.
if I got it right, the question is like, how can I scale further in US compared to Europe? One position that we got in the last year and a half, still being data driven, was to build a kind of predictable and scalable marketing model, so that we got in a position that technically the more money we would put on marketing, the more traffic we could get and we could expect to convert. And that's almost how we've been growing for the last couple of years. And that's how we think that we can grow further, because still what we are doing in terms of advertising or product offering is still a little part of everything that we have in mind, and also the kind of advertising channel that we use are just like still a limited part of what we can actually leverage, and the big scaling part is still going to be about US. So even though this year we're going to scale internationally, and next year is going to be as big as it is US now, still most of the revenue we expect that will come from US. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, you can extend the question much, right? And
Okay.
Marketing stuff's fascinating. I'm curious how you find ROIs and things on Facebook, for example. It's pretty high cost per impression often on Facebook. Especially in the US is even more expensive than Europe.
It depends. Let's say being on Facebook, selling a photo books, that's not where people are usually spending their time to do shopping. So what we found was the right combination of you know, tapping into the right moment while people, they were just browsing their Facebook feed, and then provide them a book that they were not looking for at the beginning. And that's one of our like kind of secret sauce. And then we were able to just scale that part. The more customer and the more books we were creating, the more we are able to find people like them to scale up the marketing activities. And then I can give you the number offline if you want.
Nice. Yep.
So you mentioned that it's not actually the end product what you're doing right now. So was it actually the master plan from the very beginning to spend a few years just gearing up towards the main product?
Definitely not.
I was about to say yes. I remember your slides back at the demo day, that there was a bigger vision.
My roadmap was like almost Theill and then into that was the plan, yeah.
Roller coaster?
Yeah.
Make it fun.
Maybe not that part, but the bigger vision.
Yeah. But I think that, like, you know, we you know, I always say that it never gets easy, and I still personally feel in handling the same shit that I was handling 5 years ago when I didn't have any customer. So now it just changed the order of magnitude. But then I would even say, you know, it was easier to go from 0 to 1 than now from 1 to 100 or from 100 to 1 million. It never really changed the feeling. So
Yeah.
So there was this time when you went from 15 people to one person, right? You downscaled. So that is the time when a lot of people give up. So what made you keep going? Why did you continue? When your investors, some of them were not, even they didn't believe in you.
Yeah. Can I repeat the question? Just for. So the question was, when you went from 15 down to one person, what made you keep going?
Because, so the simple short answer is that, I didn't have proof that was not going to work. So I didn't feel that I tried it all. So I tried to do a little bit of retrospective on how I spent the previous year and a half or two, and I still saw stuff that didn't prove the product wrong. So I just wanted to complete that checklist, and if I would have, that's what I told myself. I gave myself a deadline. I gave myself that year. If I would have not proven that to myself first, I would have never go back to my own investor. So then I just wanted to go through those missing activities and stuff, and with this different mindset that I described earlier about, getting rid of all the noise and just focusing on what matters. And then if all those stuff would have not worked, then I would have really stopped it. But at least I really didn't accept it to say that I was giving up. I was just stop it if it was not gonna work. That's just psychologically different.
Nice. Any other questions?
What would you do differently?
What would you do differently?
Yeah, my first 2 years for sure. So if I would have for sure cared a bit less about product and building new features, and I would have cared way more into bootstrapping on day one. Let's say, as I said before, at the beginning I actually turned down investors that were pushing into a real concrete business model. I say, now I just want to grow. And then it will be easy one day to actually prove. But then if you want to grow without making money, then you need to raise plenty of money. And then you need actually to have a plan at a certain day to monetize on that. I didn't have that plan, but I just wanted to grow. In user and book created, that I would have definitely do different, for sure.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. So you and your company has gone through so many phases in the past few years. Which part do you like the most? Do you enjoy this right now, the scaling phase, or do you actually miss the part or the moment when you were actually on your own trying to figure out things by yourself?
So the question is, your company has gone through so many phases. Which phase did you like the most? Do you miss the days back when you were by yourself? Or maybe with your sister? Join that, you like it better now?
I'm really the wrong person to give an advice on this question, because I never enjoy anything. Say for me, the moment that I get into something, I'm already getting crazy about how I can make it bigger. Or it's not about being pessimistic, but I always like to consider every different scenario. So that's something that I really, I'm not able to say, okay, I've done it, or it's now, because before I was, when I say that we raised the first investment, that I was celebrating and whatever. That's the first slap on the face, and after that, I really just keep my feet on the ground and I just think about what I need to do next, because every time that I get to a certain level, I'm in the last 16 months, I'm always worried about when I see the number of the last day of the month. I say, how can we make more revenue the month after? Let's say the bar always gets higher. So I never. That's something that I should learn. So I'm the really worst person to give you an advice on that. To really appreciate a bit more what we achieve and actually wait before thinking about what's next. But that's probably on the other side is what keep me going.
So you're going for true world domination?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Nothing less.
Any other questions? Yeah?
What is there somebody who really inspires you, like maybe another entrepreneur or somebody in your life?
Is there someone that inspires you, maybe another entrepreneur or someone else in your life?
Yeah, I'd say if I need to pick a person, it's like my dad. That it's, you know, I always wanted to prove him that you know, I'm better than whatever I think I am, and that is what I think that you know, like with my team, I always want to prove to them that I'm working harder than them, so that you know, I always feel that they are judging my job and how I perform. So that is a bit of my mindset, and I got this about how hard my dad was kicking my ass when I was a kid. So that's a bit my inspiration as well. So I'm doing that for him.
Nice. Any other questions? I have one. Sure. Now the company is making money. Do you get time to also check out and relax? Or are you still looking every week? How much can I perform?
The second. No, that's something that I'm really trying to do, forcing myself to do, and you know, with my girlfriend, that I always say that is my first angel investor. That you know, it actually cost me money instead of getting money from her. But it is, you know, she's the one that stayed on my side for all these roller coaster and you know, finding time to have quality time with her, or like for myself as well. That's what keeps me sometimes also alive. So that's important.
Nice. Yeah, one more.
So how about Amsterdam? Have you ever regretted or been particularly happy that you moved to Amsterdam and not another European capital?
Yeah, I changed my mind on that a few times. So when I moved to Amsterdam, the real story is that I did not want to stay in Amsterdam. Let's say one of the reasons why I loved Rockstart is because the program was also including a part in the US. That's always where I wanted to go. And so I say, okay, perfect, you know, I can get to Amsterdam. It's not that far from Milan, where I'm from. Learn a bit from US, spend some time there, and then, you know, using them as the bridge to them. Then I spent some time in US, and I started feeling a bit more home here. And I, you know, I had the American dream of San Francisco, where everything happened, where for sure, for you know, startup and company like ours can make the difference being there. But I don't believe anymore. That's where I changed my mind. That is technically really needed, and you know, the proof that we stayed here and we have most of our revenue from US, and I'm traveling back and forth when it's needed. So like next week I'm going there. Is not really necessary. And Amsterdam is what I really call home now, so I definitely do not have a regret on that.
Nice. Any other questions? Yeah?
This is a bit different, but how does it feel, or what's the experience to build a team itself? 30 people is quite a lot, and going from 1 to 30, and the whole process of actually building a team and making sure that everyone works in the direction you want them to work. How does it feel?
So the question is, how does it feel to build a team going from 1 to 30 people? And how do you make sure that everyone works? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah, definitely a good one. For me, like managing people is one of the most important lessons learned. And the trick that I found is that you don't want to hire people that need to be managed. And you know, one of those investors that I have closed that is not a tech, in the tech industry, always told me, you know, hire the best one. Like always go for A players. And sometimes you can't really afford to hire A players, especially in the beginning. So we really didn't want to compromise on that. But I always went for people that were like really eager to join us. Not for the money, because especially in the early days we were not able to offer like that high salary, and still now we are still frugal. But we wanted to have people on board that, you know, of course I always want to have people like me and find clone of me. But we wanted to have people that felt part of the family and first part of the mission. So I really don't like to babysit my team, but I want my team to feel responsible. I always say this, and this is one of the stuff that I learned in eBay. I always say, like, freedom is responsibility, and I give all my team the freedom to do whatever they want, to come to the office wherever they want. We don't have, let's say, working hour or whatever, as long as they keep the responsibility of doing their job right, or to get stuff done the way that they do, and so that they can manage themselves. Because, and that is, it's easy to say, and to find people that would not take advantage of that environment, because it's very easy to abuse it, and that's where you might also have a fast turnover. That if people don't fit, or if you see that doesn't work out, you just also learn how to fire people, or to let them go. Or also, I noticed that also the team itself, that it protects itself. So that is where you have people challenging themselves to do more. And if you have somebody that doesn't fit, it just pop up. You don't even have to say that. And that's I can say that this is my second team in Pastbook, and I built it up from scratch in a completely different way than the first one, based on kind of this principle.
Yeah, any other questions? If not, I'm gonna round up with the final one. This is gonna be a difficult one, and I'm gonna kick the ball to you. Could you have done it without Rockstart?
Of course not. Cheers.
Right answer, my friend. Thank you. All right, so I want to thank you for coming here today. We always say at Rockstart that we invest in people, because we look for entrepreneurs like Stefano at super early stages, and often, as you hear, there's not so much other to look for than the guys across from you. And I think specifically with you, we got that reaffirmation, because is that the right strategy? Should you invest in people, or should you rather look for some metrics that might be revenue or early growth? Or what are you looking for? How do you identify who's going to be successful as a startup? And I think looking at your journey and seeing how you're pushing every day kind of gives us the confidence that looking for people is the #1 criteria in investing. So I also want to leave you guys with that's, I think, for everyone else to also keep in mind that companies are built by people. And super happy that you were here to share that story. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to all of you guys for being here today. Feel free to stick around. You also be here for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And let's have some beers. Thank you.